So GCMS K2B4 has finished running that sample. We're going to take a look at it and see if there's any product. Looks like the detector saturated, so apparently I had a solution that was plenty concentrated. Does look like there's a peak here. So let's go to post-run analysis. And we will migrate to the folder 2021 labs, which is where I put this. And that's DCL1062A-1. Hopefully the camera angle is right. I'm going to open that file. And you see there's just one big peak here at about 9.2 minutes. We got some small impurities, but those are minor, and we're way off scale at 10,000. So we're going to integrate, but I need to turn the integrator so that it doesn't turn off at 9 minutes. So we're going to delete that. That way it'll pick up that peak. Right, and you'll see that it's not picking these up because they're tiny. So we've just got that one peak. It's way off scale here, but there's a molecular ion, it looks like at 250. Significant M+1 peak, but that's because this one is so off scale. It's pegged. So it looks like we have a molecular weight of 250 for this compound. I'm going to save that data file. And if I really wanted a good result, I would dilute this up and run it again, which I may do. But for now, we're just going to go to the top menu, and we're going to go to a report format. We're going to open a format file, and I have one already called Aldol products, so we're going to open that Aldol products format file. We're going to drag 62A in there, but we're going to need to change this because it's only looking from 3 to 9. We're going to right click on that and go to the GCMS chromatogram object properties, chromatogram, and tell it not to stop at 9 but to go until 10, and apply that so we can actually see that peak. Alright, it's 100%, and there is our mass spectrum, this big peak at 250, and we've got our table of results. And it looks like we're picking up a whole bunch of peaks with very small relative intensities. I would like to make that stop. And there's a place to do that. I'm going to save that report format. There's a place to do that if I can find it. But I always have trouble remembering where that is. Somewhere there is a, maybe if I right click on here, spectrum format parameters, what's that do? 0 to 300, relative intensity threshold is set at 0.5. I'm going to set that to 1. And hopefully that'll make some of those peaks go away. So we still got the big peak at 250. I'm going to save that data file. And I'm going to go back to the report, and I'm going to drag that file in again. And it should have made some of those peaks go away. We've still got a lot of peaks with relative intensities that are quite low and probably not interesting, and we only have, you know, up to 223 here. So I'm going to go back, and I'm going to actually set that again, right click, spectrum format parameters. I'm going to tell it, let's try 1.7. We'll OK that, save the data file, and we'll go back to the report and we'll drag that in again. And now I see that peak at 250. And if I expand it, we'll be able to see the intensity. That's our base peak at 100%. So I'm seeing my number, peak number, my mass over Z, my relative intensity. And I actually have got too many columns, so I'm going to go to GCMS table properties and tell it that instead of seeing 7 blocks, I just want to see 6 blocks. That way everything's on scale. I can see everything. Number of Z relative intensity, That looks pretty good. Yeah, I've got that peak at 249. I'm not seeing the 250. That's kind of annoying. And I'm still seeing some low intensity peaks that are probably not that interesting. Let's go to properties here. For some reason it's only giving me 8 rows. I can probably change that, maybe. I can figure out how. Try changing that cell height to 4 millimeters. There we go. Okay. Change that to 2.5 millimeters. Now it's getting me all the peaks. Well, that looks good. I can OK that. Now it's giving me 10 rows. And I'm getting all the way to this peak of 252. Which is an M+2 peak, which you sometimes see with low intensity, with a really intense peak for molecules with large number of carbons, because you might have 2 carbon 13s in there at the same time. The M+1 peak is typically about 10% of the intensity of the molecular ion, if you have 10 carbons, because of the natural abundance. So I'm going to save that report format file. I'm going to save the data file. And then we will print that report to a PDF file. And I think I'm already pointing. Nope, I'm not pointing where I want to point. I'm going to go to J, data. I've got a GCMS folder. And in there I've got 2021 labs. This is going to be Aldol condensation K2B4. And I'll have that uploaded. Decent GCMS spec result. Close that. Close that and put this back to JData GCMS, and that's it for the data for today.